Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, special edition of the Terrible Podcast. I am Alex Kozora. Alongside me, as always, is Mr. Dave Bryan. Welcome back to the show here on Saturday, July 31st. The Steelers have wrapped up their fifth training camp practice in the last 5 days. We've been to the last four. They'll have a much-needed day off tomorrow before getting back out there on Monday. And yeah, Dave, Steelers and pads, good contact today, and this looked like a team and an offense in particular that felt like they were going through their fifth practice in 5 days. Pretty sloppy day and not a great day for the Steelers offense.
Yeah, good test for the team overall, right? Have the late practice Friday night there, turn around and do it again on Saturday. And not only that, do it in pads and do it in a, I'm taking it as the largest crowd you've seen out there so far, probably the largest crowd they've had at Heinz Field since the pandemic started, right? You know, I don't know if they've had any concerts or anything out there since then, so maybe I'm off there. But obviously Steelers-related stuff and all like that. But, it sounds like it was an eventful day, more so for the defense than it was for the offense. So within that, where would you like to begin? I guess a little bit of housekeeping first, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's start with that, with the injury situation. A couple of new names not practicing today. That was B.J. Finney and Trey Turner.
I forgot to add B.J. Finney and Trey Turner in my report today. That I'll have to update that as soon as we get off here.
Yeah. Not sure what's up with Turner. Finney had a wrap on his left-hand wrist, so something going on with that. Couldn't tell you the details, and Tomlin did not have an injury report himself, I don't think, so he didn't clarify anything there. Cassius Marsh did not practice after suffering some sort of lower body injury yesterday. Stephon Tuitt did not work. Eric Ebron continues to miss his third straight day with that elbow. Cody White with the hamstring. A little more spirited work from White from a rehab standpoint, but he's still a little ways away. No Jalen Samuels, no TJ Watt, no Chukwuma Okorafor, or Zach Banner. Returning in full were Ben, Hayden, and Juju. Kevin Dotson, J.C. Hassenauer are both in pads for the first time, or at least since Hassenauer got hurt and Dotson the first time here in camp. And so that's good news. Obviously, they're continuing to trend in the right direction, but neither were involved really fully in O-line individual. They worked together on the side alongside assistant offensive line coach Chris Morgan, and neither worked in team. And then during practice, Anthony Coyle suffered some sort of injury, maybe a left arm, left shoulder issue. So the offensive line got really thin by the end of practice.
So you're telling me you were like 2 snaps away from having to play some guard or center, weren't you?
It's good there was a good crowd on hand. There were a lot of options to choose from had the team needed somebody. Yeah, they had they have 15 linemen on the roster, 15 offensive linemen, 8 finished practice today, and 7 did not. So almost half their guys did not finish today's practice or did not practice in any capacity.
Boy, it makes you kind of wonder if we might see a roster move here in the next next few. You know, obviously we'll see what happens with Coyle. Don't know if that was a stinger again or what. He's already had a little bit of an issue staying fully healthy there, and obviously, boy, what's going on with Banner? You gotta, I think you just said the other night there that you hope he hasn't had some sort of setback as far as he's concerned there. Maybe just a little bit of soreness, hopefully, is all that it is. And then Finney sitting out, and who knows what. Hopefully, just Trey Turner was more of a vet day, because Mike Tomlin talked about how we could probably look forward to some of these vets being rotated through and given time off there. So as we've already talked several times already, not only are you not getting continuity with your perceived kind of starting 5 there, now your second line, people are going to have to wear name tags here before too long, introduce each other to each other when they're lined up against each other or with each other there. So not a great start on a position group that we were the most concerned about before training camp even started.
Yeah, my level of concern hasn't decreased, I'll say, since the start of camp here, and the line itself did not perform that well today, some of that is just some of the mixing and matching and not having all the starters there. Hopefully Dotson and Hossauer can be ready for Monday. Again, they continue to trend in the right direction. But if those guys aren't available in team and a guy like Coyle can't go, then yeah, I think they probably will have to bring in somebody to just have the numbers to have at least two lines along the O-line.
Yeah, especially come Thursday, you got a preseason game right around the corner here now, and you obviously are not just going to throw 6 or 7 guys out there and expect them to play the whole game. You're probably going to want to dress at least 10.
And 11, probably 11. Give yourself the extra guy, yeah, because you don't want to. I mean, you want to play Kendrick Green a lot, but you don't want to play him the entire game, obviously.
Absolutely, and it sounds like if LeGlue can stay healthy, then he's probably going to see some snaps at center late in that game against the Cowboys, right?
I think so. Yeah, it was interesting because I saw LeGlue first, and he was taking center snaps, and I thought, that's weird. Why is he doing that? Because Hassenauer might be back in pads, but then Hassenauer wasn't working, then Finney's not playing or working, and so you realize why they had to have LeGlue continue to do that. So, yeah, line's getting short, but as Tomlin says, one man's misfortune is another man's fortune. That's what we say. That's what we'll say instead, and that's offering the chance for LeGlue to have some versatility in his game.
All right, so while we're on, being most of the injuries are offensive line related, what you already did hit on it, that not a great day for the offensive line. What did you see with the guys that did participate?
Yeah, just struggling to win the point of attack. It's hard to really pinpoint any one name who struggled in some of those team sessions because it is so jumbled up and you don't always have the best vantage point kind of on an angle like that. But Harris was definitely running for his life today in some of their full pad, full contact sessions. And so that group just overall, I thought, struggled. Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith were in the backfield quite a bit. I will say, though, in terms of just, again, versatility and opportunity, LeGlue getting that extra work, and then Rashad Coward was really double dipping at first and second team offensive line, first team left guard, second team right guard. So there's a ton of snaps for a guy like him that test conditioning, test reps, mental, physical readiness, things like that. But a lot of opportunity, at least today, for Rashad Coward.
Do we know what's eating at Chiquamo Okorafor injury-wise, what he might have wrapped or whatnot?
I don't. He kind of wears pads. At least he has his leg pants on, and I mean he's out there. But he just hasn't really worked. He worked even less than Dotson and Hassenauer today. Those guys at least did something, kind of sparred in O-line drills, and Okorafor just kind of stood there and watched. So I don't know what's going on with him, but something's up.
All right. Anything else to add about the offensive line other than a rosary?
Yeah, other than get a medic and say a prayer. But hopefully, I think that group definitely needs a day off.
Yep, most definitely.
Quarterback, not a whole lot to note there. Half day for Ben. Both quarterbacks were successful in the 2-minute drill. Ben led his group down for a touchdown with the 6-yard score in the end zone to Deontay Johnson. Dwayne Haskins hit a wide open Anthony McFarland for a 20-yard score on the final play of practice. Haskins had a really nice throw to McLeod over the middle on that drill, hit him right in stride, working on Arthur Moulette. And so a good day for the 2-minute drill, the situational part of the offense, and that's probably the biggest note there.
And you look like Haskins and him kind of swapping out some second-team reps.
Haskins and
Haskins and Mason.
Yeah, Haskins obviously got the second work in the 2-minute drill, and I'll have to check the team sessions to see if he got any second team work ahead of Rudolph. So, again, we'll see what Haskins looks like inside of a stadium. That can certainly change opinions quickly one way or another, but based on what we've seen so far, is it impossible for Haskins to be the number 2? I think that the door's at least cracked open just based on the play of Haskins and some of Rudolph's struggles. So again, I think Rudolph's still the number 2 right now, and that's reflected in their overall, pecking order. But Haskins is at least, I think, making it a conversation.
Yeah, and I think someone had asked us before, via email or whatnot, what are the chances? And to me, it would really take Mason Rudolph having, I think my answer was he would have to fall on his face, have an awful camp, and then have an awful preseason. As well. Now, is it plausible? It's plausible. Okay, we'll just kind of leave it at that right now. But it's kind of hard to judge it off of just a couple of practices here, right?
It is. Yeah, obviously how things translate inside stadiums, it's always been Haskins' issue. The talent's always been there, and the environment, obviously, in practice where, you're not going to get hit is much different than how it's going to be in a game. You're going against guys, what defense you've been working against all spring. So we'll see how things carry over. But, I'll leave it at that. Leave it at that in the sense of that door is cracked open just based on that Haskins is having a strong start to camp.
All right. But he threw an interception early too, didn't he?
He did, but it was off of Gentry, I think, and that should have been caught. It was on the money, and Gentry just couldn't catch it, and it popped up in the air and picked off by Shakur Brown. So I don't blame that on Haskins one bit.
I didn't Pierre.
Oh yeah, he
one?
did. Yeah, Pierre did get him. Yeah, now there was pressure on that play too, and Haskins, kind of threw it, and so yeah, that wasn't a good decision by Haskins. Maybe influenced a bit by the perception of pressure at least. So yeah, you're right. Good call on that. But I don't think either play was super egregious, and certainly the second interception isn't on Haskins at all.
Was Mason Rudolph's day just kind of nondescript?
Yeah, nothing too. I mean, it wasn't as bad as yesterday. I wouldn't call it a real good day for the offense. Very few guys had a good day overall, but his day was just okay.
Okay.
Running backs, not a whole lot to note with the backups, but Najee Harris having to create because he had no choice. And some of that, I wonder if the defense was pulling up a little bit and kind of allowing him to create. Cam Hayward probably could have tackled him for a loss once or twice, but Harris certainly showing the ability to create and get more than what's blocked, which is good because very little was blocked today.
Ooh, yeah, I mean, how good a running back is, is one thing. He needs a little help along the way, though, right? Your best running back, unless you're expecting him to be Barry Sanders back there, kind of thing. Look, it's good to hear, some of these, 5-yard carries, I think, that we see come across the Twitter machine, and Najee having to be, or being responsible for a lot of that happening. Even so, you can't expect that on a down by down basis there. So you need the offensive line to help him out some, and once again, you hate to keep going back to it, but it's been one of the things we've talked about the most throughout this offseason here is the question marks about that offensive line there. So how did he perform? Look, it sounded like he got to pick and choose against or had some different kind of body types he went against in some of these protection and one-on-one situations here.
Yeah, I was paying attention to the tight end linebacker run blocking drill today when they were doing some of the one-on-one tackling leverage type stuff. He had some good battles with Spillane, I guess, but I mean that's really more to me a drill for the defense than it is the runner, so I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it.
Yeah, and after practice too, he talked a little bit about wanting to play in the Hall of Fame game and wanting to play, as much as possible. Going to be an interesting decision Mike Tomlin has there, right? Especially if you don't have hardly any offensive linemen
that's true.
To throw out there. Look, I appreciate him. He's saying all the right things, but we'll see if he does get out there at all against the Cowboys. What are you thinking? 3 carries or 3 touches, 4 touches, something like that, 10 snaps, something along those lines. I just can't for the life of me with your first round draft pick and a guy that's going to be your bell cow, and you have 4 preseason games this year, and you already lathering them up pretty good during training camp practices. I would be more apt to live in my fears, I guess is what I'm saying.
Here's what I would do. I would dress him. I would start him. I would play him for 2 snaps, 1 carry, 1 pass, and then sit him down just to kind of get that first run, first game, those nerves and stuff out of the way, just to get that all over and done with. And then I'm sitting him down after literally 2 plays.
What I would do is I wouldn't tell him anything ahead of time. I would let him dress and go through the process, and then right before kickoff, I'd say, Najee, you're down.
You're down. Oh, you would tell him that he's not playing.
Yeah, that he's not playing.
You're going to make him go through all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want him to go through the process. I want him to think that he's playing, and then I would tell him he's down. I want him to still go through that mental aspect of preparing, and then I would tell him right before kickoff, you're down. And then
you love playing coy with these guys. You didn't want to tell Haskins about him starting. No one knows what they're doing.
Right. I want to see where I want them to be mentally stronger because of it. Because look, life ain't fair, man. That's what I would do. Now I don't have an idea, and we'll see. Mike Tomlin, I think on Tuesday is going to have a media session and kind of treat this kind of like a work week, and I think he's going to have like a noon press conference on Tuesday or thereabouts, and it'll be interesting to see who he tells, or if he tells us at all, any additional players such as, Najee and some of these other rookies, maybe, how much they're going to play there. But he wants to play. I admire him for that. I'm just not so sure if I play him.
Yeah, very little, if at all. Also, had 2 drops today, and so the hand's normally good. But the Steelers across the board, by my count, and I might even be underselling it 1 or 2, had 8 drops as an offense. Just in team today, 8 drops. Harris had 2 of them. That's about as bad as it gets from my experience watching camp.
I think I read Deontay might have had 1 in there, and Raider, I think you just got done bragging about him catching everything, and I think even Gentry, you kind of bragged on him. He's catching it, and he had 1 to bounce off of him. And I think Shakur Brown got it there. So I'm not sure how much Mike Tomlin's going to put this on you today, but. Yeah, man, you hate to hear that, especially coming off of a season where you had 40-something, whatever drops it was.
Right. I mean, it could be some guys who are just tired, five practices, 5 days, the evening practice to the afternoon practice. But, yeah, guys with normally good hands, at least he's shown it in camp with Gentry, Raider, Harris, James Washington had 1 today. Deontay had at least 1. It was a little bit behind, but I still call it a drop, maybe even 2. Maybe there was a second one in 7 shots, but sloppy performance overall.
Okay, what else was sloppy offensively?
Yeah, I mean, for the receivers, that's kind of the note there. Ray actually caught some passes past line of scrimmage today. So that's always exciting. A little bit of work for him out of the slot. With Zach Gentry there, the drop turned interception was obviously disappointing, but I watched him in that tight end linebacker drill, that run blocking drill, and it is a little tough to gauge like who wins those battles because you have to look at the leverage of the play, where the ball's supposed to go, and those kinds of things. But Gentry started off really poor. Being too tall, and Alfredo Roberts was talking with him about leverage and pad level, and he improved and had some much better reps at the end of the drill against a guy like, I think it was Jamar Watson, and had some better reps. So you kind of saw him get a lot better at the end of the drill than he was at the start of the drill, and leverage and that height issue is always going to be the thing he's got to try to overcome. I mean, it helps that he's a big dude, but it also hurts him in some ways as well. But I kind of saw him get better just in a couple moments, and that was kind of cool to see.
What about Freiermuth in that drill?
Yeah, he took his lumps against Ty Smith. Really, for me, for that drill, I just want to see guys fight and compete and finish. I think Tomlin talked about the same. And there was one play where Highsmith beat him late, and Tomlin yelled out, you got to finish that. Don't let him out finish your Pat. And Freiermuth showed some improvement there, driving his feet and finishing the play. It is a tough drill for sure because you can't hold the block forever. But you just want to see guys finish, compete, and Freiermuth kind of got there by the end.
All right, good.
That's about it for the offense. I don't have a whole lot for the defensive line, to be honest with you. Hayward seemed like he was a beast in run session. No surprise there. And again, just more opportunities for young guys to play with. No Stephon Tuitt still working, not even working really in any capacity today.
They taking it easy on our boy Tyson Alualu?
I mean, he's still running first team. I don't know if he's getting a ton of snaps. I mean, I think they're kind of being a bit smart about it, but he's dressed for every single practice. And, Tuitt's been off. Hayward had the off day yesterday. So Alualu's just a guy that is just always there, always available. His NFL career, he's missed only a handful of games. And so he's the guy that shows up every single day.
We got to find what that guy eats, man. Because,
right.
The last couple of years, he's reversed the aging. I bet he eats pineapple on pizza. How much you bet?
Do you if that's a secret, I don't want
it. Do you eat pineapple on pizza?
I mean, I don't care what people put on their pizza, but I don't personally do it.
No, have you ever tried it?
I've tried it, yeah, but then I turned 8.
Fantastic, man.
You like it?
Oh, I love it, man. I grew up in, first part of my life, obviously in greasy spoons and pizza places. It's about the only places that would hire me. But yeah, man, I'm a big Canadian bacon pineapple on pizza fan. Yeah, I'll do that in a heartbeat there.
You think you know a guy, then he turns on you.
Yeah, I love it. Now here's one thing that I don't like any vegetables on my pizza. I'm not no onions, peppers, mushrooms.
You don't like?
Olives.
I love green peppers on a pizza.
No vegetables on my pizza whatsoever. And I don't like pizza that has like chunked tomatoes in the sauce. I like just just a straight sauce, that way, real picky when it comes to, boy, I could eat some pizza growing up, man. I basically live off pizza, and I'm sure most teenagers That's the way it is there. But and anything, all meat pizza, absolutely. All right, I didn't mean to send you down that rabbit hole, but man, pineapple on pizza is fantastic.
I know we try to keep these podcasts under an hour, and we wonder why we gets away from us sometimes. No, that's all good.
But just put it on me. They know by now. Either they listen. You know what? We're at the stage now. Either they listen or they don't.
Right. For sure. Linebackers.
I've never done chicken on pizza, though. Have you done chicken on pizza? I've never had.
Have I had it?
Yeah.
I've had it like once or twice. It's fine. It's not that great.
I never have done that.
Linebackers, Calvin Bundage is interesting. A guy that's a good athlete. He's played mostly off ball, but I think he can line up on the edge. He obviously did that a good bit at Oklahoma State last season. He's a physical guy. He plays bigger than his size. His run fits, I think, are pretty good. And I'm interested to see if they kind of move him around a little bit, just even on specific plays, a little bit of edge, a little bit of overhang defender. I think he's got a good overall skill set that's kind of impressing me.
When you go back and you peek back at some of his tape a little bit, and I'm not comparing him to Ryan Shazier. What I'm saying is kind of his usage a little bit reminds me of how Ryan Shazier was used at Ohio State. Does that make sense?
Expand on that in what sense?
Just they would really move them all over the place. He would play a little bit off ball, and he would rush occasionally off the edge. And I'm talking about a small sample size here that I went back and looked at. I guess what I'm getting at is maybe we've kind of undersold him. Now, look, I still don't think he's going to make the 53, and I don't think you're going that direction either there. But maybe there's enough there, work in progress, especially if he can show something on special teams during the preseason. I mean, is this a guy that could potentially surprise us and hang around on the practice squad?
I think it's possible. It'd be a good story for a guy that was cut 2 days before camp and probably only came back because Vince retired. I think he's playing pretty well. And Quincy Roche looking good as well. Thought he had
because real quick when he was signed, I viewed him more as an edge first.
I didn't know where they were going to play him because he was more of an edge in college, but he was just kind of too small to play on the edge in Pittsburgh. So I was curious where they were going to line him up.
Right, and I mean I think it's just from his measurables alone you could see, man, this guy going to get ragdolled a little bit unless he doesn't look like he has that kind of frame that he can. He could become that kind of prototypical edge there. So, I mean, off the ball, obviously, seems like the direction in there. I'm just going to be. He's a guy now that a couple of weeks ago I wouldn't even given the time of day to think about maybe possibly making the practice squad. But I think based on your reports in these last couple of practices and knowing that he's pretty much he is in the inside linebacker room. I think it's worth kind of following along now to see maybe if he's a guy that could potentially make the practice squad, especially with 16 in total.
Absolutely. Quincy Roche, I thought, probably had his best day of camp so far.
Good.
A guy with, and really kind of shines in that linebacker tight end blocking drill because he understands leverage and hand use and technique and block deconstruction and staying clean. And you saw that quite a bit, I thought, in that drill, and had at least one, I think, tackle for loss in team today coming off the edge and I think beating the block as well. And so good to hear some positive things from Quincy Roche.
And it's good that he caught your eye on a day after a night practice and on the heels of Cassius Marsh missing some snaps. So I imagine Roche got his fair share of some reps today, right?
Yeah, he was second team opposite Jameer Jones. It was Ingram and Highsmith as the starters with Watt still out, and it was Roche and Jameer Jones second team.
All right, I'm excited to see that duo play a lot of snaps against Dallas now.
Yeah, I think both guys have been impressive. Jones more so in the last couple of days, but Roche today I thought had a good day overall.
All right, that's maybe get a little. Possibly both those guys maybe sticking on the practice squad there, so that's good info.
At corner, Shakur Brown with the interception. It came off that tip pass, so he didn't have to work too hard for it, but still good to see the interception and the finish. Anyway, James Pierre, as you mentioned, that interception on that crossing pattern in 7 shots, and so that's back-to-back days with a pick from James Pierre in goal line situations, and so he's going to give up catches. He gave up one to Deontay Johnson on the first play of the 2-minute drill that Ben threw later in practice, but a guy that almost routinely is making at least one splash impact play a practice, and that's a good path to be on.
You know, you go all the way back and you remember back and you read back some of the reports from just last year's training camp and all like that. And not only that, going back, you know, there's value in reviewing the pictures on Steelers.com. Because if a defensive player has a ball in his hand, something happened. You know, you don't necessarily know what happened, but usually if they got the ball in their hand and they're moving, something happened. And just go and you know, obviously I think there were some reports too that you know he picked off some passes and all like that. I mean, we're now talking 2 summers in a row here that this guy that Pierre is having the football in his hands quite a bit, you know, and I think even a year ago I tweeted out, boy, it sure seems like this guy's got a ball magnet in him, and it seems like he's still got that ball magnet in him, and if he continues to make plays, and we've said this all summer, he's going to be hard to keep off the field, man. I mean, he really is. So another guy that you just got to be really, really excited to see him play a good amount of snaps against the Cowboys on Thursday.
Here was the Steelers' DB package in dime, both in 7-on-7 and more relevantly in the 2-minute drill. It was Hayden and Pierre on the outside. So that's Hayden at left corner, Pierre at right corner, and Brooks and Sutton inside in the slot. And Sutton kind of in that dime role. And so with Fitzpatrick and Edmonds at safety, that I'm very confident is going to be your dime look come week 1 against the Bills, unless they go with Millette over Brooks. But I think Pierre will be on the field at least in dime.
All right, that's a nice start, and then we'll see where things go for the rest of it. We said that we were going to be learning as we went along when it comes to what they might do in the sub package with Mike Hilton no longer there, with Steven Nelson gone now. So I think we're starting to learn a little bit there, and you know, we'll see if Pierre can somehow shoehorn himself into maybe that outside nickel role as well.
Right, yeah. The question to me now is just what happens in nickel. Does Sutton stay outside and they put Brooks or Millette inside, or does Sutton shift inside and Pierre comes outside? But Pierre keeps playing like this, they may have to move Sutton to the inside, which is not a bad thing.
No, I don't think it's bad at all. Right, yeah, I think that's. I mean, and plus, man, how we've said it for several weeks now, and you know, I put it in my terrible take not too terribly long as well too. Boy, how nice would it be to see this team hit on an outside corner as an undrafted free agent after, you know, obviously look, I mean, they hit on Mike Hilton. Let's not act like they haven't hit, you know, with that kind of player non-drafted before there, but you know, to get one on the outside, especially like that, I mean, that, you know, for all the times that they've missed in the draft and in drafted players, especially at that position, it sure would be nice to hit on a guy like Pierre, and you know, they could play that exclusive rights game with him too, you know. Right. You know, assuming he does hit. So that, I mean, keep your fingers crossed that he keeps that arrow going in the right direction, and it certainly sounds like it's that it's remaining going in the direction that really it started going in a year ago.
Right. The only downside with the nickel package of Sutton being inside is you lose some of that Hilton-esque quality of run defense blitzing that you might get more out of Brooks and Millette. But if those are your best guys, those are your best guys.
Right.
For safety, I don't really have a whole lot to note. They weren't super active today, at least from what I was able to see. They were, you know, a lot of availability with those guys. You really don't see those guys miss a lot of time. You know, Fitzpatrick and Edmonds, those guys are always out there working. Killebrew Norwood is your second string, and right now Donovan Steiner and Lamont Wade, your third string safety pairing. So not a whole lot to note there, but those guys are always just out there and getting reps, and that's important.
So you would expect Killebrew and Norwood, I'm guessing, to see a lot of playing time early against the Cowboys?
Yeah, I would. I mean, they are the second stringers right now. So, I mean, Fitzpatrick obviously will not play. I very much doubt Edmonds would play either. And so, yeah, it should be Killebrew at strong safety and Trey Norwood at free safety.
All right, interesting there. In any kind of run tackling, how's Norwood doing coming up and wanting to hit?
He hasn't had too many. Yeah, hasn't had too many like one-on-one opportunities. They're not super frequent. With him only having a couple of tackling sessions. I mean, he'll come up. I've seen him involved, but can he do that one-on-one in open space is going to be the question with him.
All right, and you hit corners and anything on the specialist and all. What's the return lines looking like?
About the same. I didn't even chart it today, I don't think. In kick return, you'll probably see Matthew Sexton, maybe some Isaiah McCoy. Obviously, Ray can do it. Punt return, you probably see McFarland, Ray again. Some of those guys will get mixed in.
I'm guessing some of those receivers cooled off a little bit today, huh? On the offense side of football, Bussey and Sexton and McCoy.
Right. They just didn't see a whole lot of targets. There was one, Denmark had a really good breakup on a play to Bussey on the left sideline, and it was a free play. Dobbs took a free shot where Shea actually went off sides on that one. Is probably negative play of the day, and Denmark did a great job to track it and break it up. He's such a long corner. I mean, he just can make some of those plays because he's just such a unique build for the position.
Boy, you're going to have a couple of long corners in that game, aren't you? Pierre opposite Denmark, right? And it could be
Mark Gilbert, long corner.
That's gonna be some big boy corners out there against the Cowboys for a greater part of that game, I would think.
Yeah, I think so. So it'll be those guys will obviously play a ton of reps.
All right, what else do you have for us?
That's about it from practice. Again, they'll be off tomorrow, come back Monday. I want to shout out Touring Plans and Len Testa if you're planning a trip to Disney. Those are the people that you guys want to work with. So check out the website, touringplans.com, and we thank them for their continued support of Steelers Depot's camp coverage. And a shout out to Tim Rice, who's taking great photos. He's back in Maryland right now, back home. Hopefully he can come back up for another day or two of practice sometime either this upcoming week or later on in August. We took some great photos for the site, and that is really valuable for what we do.
And you have, absolutely. Appreciate both those, Len Testa and Tim Rice for sure. You have a full breakdown of the 7 shots in your camp diary that's up on SteelersDepot.com. Tease them all. What's all in there?
Yeah, again, the defense won the day in 7 shots, 5-2. Offense scored the last 2 plays. Now, there was at least one drop by Claypool. Maybe Johnson had a second, so the offense could have swung it the other way if they held on to the football. But defense won 7 shots, and that was kind of setting the tone for the rest of the practice. So, yeah, we have in the actual diary, we have the 7 shots recap. We have almost every single rep of linebacker against a tight end run blocking drill. We have every single team session, charted the play-by-play of that, and just some other news and notes, and then a too long didn't read version of kind of the bullet points and the main takeaways of the day.
All right, give me a winner and a loser for today.
That's a good question. The offense in general felt just really poor. I mean, I don't know if there was any winners there. Defensively, I don't know if any one guy stuck out. I mean, Pierre making that splash play is always important. So, I mean, you might want to lean him. I don't know if there was. I have to think about it some more. So in terms of a winner,
kind of a mass session overall, kind of a hungover session, I guess, or what?
A little, but they were in pads. There were contacts. It wasn't like a shells day where it was really low key and Ben didn't practice. I mean, there was definitely stuff going on. It was just kind of a muddied mixed bag kind of a day overall. So maybe Roche would be a winner. Maybe Pierre would be a winner, and then a loser. I mean, just all the drops, all the sloppiness. Also, 2 Bosch exchanges. There were 2 bad snaps, one between Green and Ben, one between LeGlue and Rudolph. And so you just had a lot of just wasted plays and opportunities for the offense today.
All right, good job. I know you're ready for a day off, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been a little tiring, but it's a great time of year, and it's really valuable that we make the most of our opportunity ourselves. And so I'm just glad to be back out at camp, and so I can't complain too much.
And you'll be back out there Monday and Tuesday, and then practices, I think, closed for Wednesday, and then they'll be traveling, and obviously the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, and then I think they're off on Friday. So if you can get us to Wednesday, Alex, then you get a couple more days off until next Saturday rolls around there. So appreciate all the hard work. I know the listeners do as well too. I know I learn a lot just getting on these calls with you after the fact, and then I run off and read your diary after the fact and learn even more. So I certainly do appreciate you as well there. So within that, go ahead.
One other quick thing just for the morning, a teaser, hopefully for the morning, assuming I can get it all done and I don't have too much issue with my notes. I'll have the stats for camp, the first 4-day recap of quarterback completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, same with the running backs and receivers and all that kind of stuff. So We'll take some time, but hopefully that'll be up in the morning for you guys to read.
Good job. Can't wait. All right. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Alex and I, let's see, today is Saturday. So, yeah, going to be a couple days before we have to do one of these. So, check back with us again. I think Monday morning we'll have a regular version of the Terrible Podcast. And then later on in the evening, have a recap of the Monday practice at Heinz Field special edition of the Terrible Podcast. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.